Okay. Hopefully all of the tech is working. It is frequent that I get it wrong and the tech is not working. But if it is, we're recording anyway, so I will post this if it goes wrong afterwards. Hi, Adrian. Thank you. Is it Adrian? Adrienne? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
You're perfect, Charlotte. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. I am really, really looking forward to this conversation. As I was telling you just before we came live, I realized as I was preparing for this that I don't actually really have an association between leadership and etiquette in my brain. And I cannot wait to find out all of the reasons why I should have one. So before we get started, do you want to introduce yourself or shall I give a quick intro for you?
You know what? I think I would like for you to do it so I can hear about myself. Maybe I'll learn something.
Fabulous. Well, for everybody who's listening, I'm Charlotte Rooney. I am a leadership coach and mentor for millennial middle managers who are struggling to manage themselves, their teams, and their bosses without being overworked. And I'm joined today by Adrienne Barker, who is a woman of all trades. She is a business consultant with over 35 years of experience. She is a soft skills trainer, a workshop creator, and an expert in corporate leadership and etiquette. And we are talking today about empathy and etiquette in leadership and how you can, as a woman today in business, command respect with grace. Because we all want to be respected, and so much messaging that we get suggests that that has to be demanded rather than sort of welcomed and accepted. And Adrienne is here to explain to us how to do this better. And the first question, Adrienne, I'm going to start with the most basic thing, which is when you're thinking about etiquette, how do you define it? Because I think sometimes, for many of us, it feels like a bit of an outmoded concept, and that can't be right.
It can't be right, actually. You are right. Lack of etiquette. Oh, excuse me. I got to take this phone call. Hello? I mean, it's crazy, right? That a lot of people don't understand it. So it's a code of behavior that in society or among members of parties of how you are acting. And the goal is to make sure everyone feels comfortable. It's an easy goal with etiquette. For instance, I got back from a cruise a couple of weeks ago, and as they were moving us through customs, who's such a sweetheart of a man kept saying, stay off your phone. We need you off your phone. Like, does everyone understand? We need you off your phone. We're going through customs. This is serious. And the people that were on their phone, they were making me feel uncomfortable because they were not paying attention. They weren't listening. I was listening, and it wasn't a feeling like, oh, you're doing it, I should. It was more like, oh my God, I feel uncomfortable because you're not listening to this lovely man, and he deserves to be listened to. So it could be something as small as that, or it could be something as, taking over conversations, getting on your phone, being on your phone during a meeting, which, by the way, if you are going to be on your phone during a meeting, and you're taking notes, it's okay to say, I just want everyone to know I don't have a pen and paper. I'm going to be taking notes on my cell phone. Let them know. So it's making sure everyone feels uncomfortable. And that's really the goal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. We don't have to be thinking Emily Post if we're just thinking about, behaving in ways that are respectful to other people and keeping them comfortable.
True.
But what comes up for me when I think about that is a lot of the women that I work with spend, in my view, and their own, far too much time worrying about whether or not everybody around them is comfortable, making themselves smaller, changing the way they behave in order to make other people feel comfortable. So how can we square the desire to be respectful as a leader and the desire to also take up the space that we should take and speak up when we should speak up, and they feel kind of a bit conflicting?
I think that if you're having troubles with this, then you really want to kind of look at an entrepreneur mindset. So I've always been able to kind of change my style. I mean, there's my life and then there's my business life. And in my business life and my role, I'm okay to speak up and to maybe not make someone feel uncomfortable, but I've always been called the 10th man, which I didn't know what that was, but a World War X, when Brad Pitt gets into this car and with a man and he says, I am the 10th man. I was like, oh my God, that's me. So around the room, like if you're in a boardroom, there's a way to share how you feel and say, maybe it's opposite of everyone else in the room, that you have different thoughts. But the etiquette doesn't come into play. If you said to everyone, can everyone STFU, I am going to tell you what I think, then that's a problem. But it's always understanding how to portray yourself and say things so you can get into the greatest debates, Charlotte. But you absolutely need to understand. It never makes me feel good to make someone else not feel good, right? So if you're a person that really enjoys making someone not feel great, feel bad, then that I don't know if I can even teach you what etiquette is. But if you care, there's a way to get you don't have to lose yourself within etiquette, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So for those people who do care, and I think that's most of the people that I know and meet on a day-to-day basis, what do you think that they should look out for to kind of give them feedback about whether or not they are making other people feel uncomfortable genuinely, and it's not just their imposter syndrome or anxiety telling them that they might be making somebody feel uncomfortable?
There's certain things that make me feel uncomfortable, and I'll kind of use a boardroom. If we're in the boardroom and someone interrupts someone else and the person says, could you please wait, let me speak, let me finish it, and they say it in like a not nice way, because you could also say, oh, I hear you and I want to hear that, but let me just finish what I'm saying because I may lose my train of thought. It's different. I've noticed a lot of times when someone is speaking down to someone else and making someone else not feel great, it leaves a bad taste in all of our mouths. So you have to remember when you're having communication with a group of other people, and if you're not nice, it really does affect like everyone in the room. It's not just the two people. Nobody likes that. I hear that a lot. I love audio rooms. I really love audio rooms because all you hear are their voices. They're starting to have video now, so you can hear it when someone says something. And I'm no expert, but when I was in my 30s, I could be very condescending too. And I think that's really kind of that term. Try to not be condescending and try to meet people where they are and try to understand who they are. And it does take time. I'm not, I know I'm 35 years in business and I get that I look like I'm 40, but really I'm 61. I'm not the same person I was in my 30s and 40s. And we always can learn, but to me, it's very important to make sure that when I'm in a business setting, that I make everyone around me feel comfortable and that I can speak up and say, maybe I don't agree with that, but I can do that comfortably.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sort of apart from the immediately obvious, which is it's nice when everybody feels nice, what other benefits are there for women leaders to respecting that etiquette and keeping everybody feeling comfortable, even in situations which might inherently be uncomfortable, like you might be having a contentious conversation or a difficult debate in a meeting or in a boardroom?
So I think communication styles come into play. And I think that it really, I'm going to kind of twist this a little bit. I think it's important for managers to be in those rooms, to hear what's being said, and then to provide that feedback. And not just feedback, but with, you could have, when someone had asked you the question and you replied snippily how busy you are, maybe not saying the words busy, maybe don't interrupt so much. Like whatever that person needs as a manager, you want to look at it and kind of help them that way, because a lot of us don't see ourselves and how we are acting. So having someone to help you, because it's very easy to get so passionate. Passion really drives a lot of different emotions that can make someone be like, I have to get this out. I have to share with everyone that I did that event. I raised $100,000 and you all need to follow me. You need to do it my way because I know what I'm doing. And I always think of Adrian, past Adrian, younger Adrian that was scared to speak up, Adrian. And so you also, as a leader and a woman, we should encourage everyone to also to understand that not everyone likes popcorn style where people just speak up when there's like a lull in the conversation or they speak over each other. Make sure that when you are in a manager position or you're with another woman, whatever it may be, that if you're speaking, it's nice to go around the room and kind of look at everyone, say, does anyone want to take a minute to speak? Charlotte, do you have anything you would like to add? I feel like you may have something. Like, know them in advance, make them feel important, understand people, because shy Adrian would never speak up. It took me probably, and I actually always told the boards, I'm very shy. It's probably going to take me 2 months, maybe 2 meetings before I'm going to find my voice. Please understand that. And I'm a hand raiser. I play by Robert's Rules of Order. And so that's important too. It's funny. My kids tease me because I do like order. I do like doing things the right way. And, if it's ever said in a negative way, like, oh, Adrian, she follows the rules, I always think, well, I'd rather be that person than, oh, Adrian, she doesn't follow the rules. She likes to do everything wrong. Like, doesn't make sense to me. So I think for women, we want to help each other. I've always had this passion to want to help younger women that are coming in, that are, give people, can I just say this out loud? It's very important to give younger women and men a seat at the table. And a lot of times they may have the passion, but no experience. And I would like to see more boards open up and at least have one person, and then you get a mentor for them, because we want to continue to build, men and women, and be comfortable serving on boards. It's important. I do think everyone in their life should be serving on a board at least once in their life to understand it and go through the process.
Yeah. It's interesting. I hear that a lot, and I'm very much in two minds about this idea of how important it is for women to make space for younger women, be sure that they are bringing other people up with them as they advance. And on the one hand, yeah, it makes sense. We want to give more opportunities to more people. But on the other hand, there's a part of me that just sort of thinks, are we saying the same thing to men? Are we also telling men who are in positions of power that they're not entitled to be in the position of power unless they are using it to raise other people up? Or is this just another double standard that we are putting on women to make it okay for them to be in positions of power because they're really not in it for themselves? What do you think?
That's interesting. So my first thought with this question that you have not asked me before, so it's a good, strong question. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that a woman was able to open up a bank account, open up a credit account. So it's not like we could change the facts. The facts are that men are mostly paid more than women. The facts are that when I look at a board, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's community, whether it's business, and a lot of times I right away notice that the balance is off. Now, if there was a balance and you have a board of 13 and you have 7, 6, whatever that's fine. But when you have 11 men and like not even a woman or one woman, that to me is off balance. And all I see that is that women, we understand that we still have a long way to go, and that it's okay to encourage women to serve on boards and to represent ourselves. But men are doing that too. And I think there's a lot of male organizations that are helping, or gender, humans helping each other to find a seat. And I recognize not everyone wants to serve. Not everyone wants to donate their time. And that's totally fine. But for those that want to, we need to give them an opportunity, whatever sex they are. We want to give them the opportunity so that they could thrive. And if you're serving on a committee, whether you are board, whether you're male or female, it doesn't really matter. What matters to me is that your children are watching you. If you have children, your friends are watching you. You actually can inspire people without even realizing it. Every time someone on a board takes a picture and says, here's what we're doing today, that's inspiring for someone else that says, you know what, maybe I'm interested in that. So reach out to everyone. I really, I say women because I know that we need a little bit more of a push, because that's just what it is in the world that we're living in. But that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. And so I encourage both.
Yeah, fair enough. Talking about that push, one of the things we did kind of talk about before we came on here is that there are many people of both all genders who are in positions of management and leadership and who haven't had a lot of support to get there, or they've been pushed up because they were a really great individual contributor and now they're leading teams and they're just sort of expected to know what to do kind of instinctively. And when we think about etiquette, the way we defined it at the beginning, which is really just about kind of having respect for other people and treating them as humans, it can feel as though, well, that should be intuitive, right? But I know that one of the things that you're really passionate about is etiquette training. So tell me about that. Why is it so important to provide that training for something that we might not instinctively think we need to train?
Because a lot of our young students that are in high school and college and are coming into the market really are not taught that. So in their mind, and we hear this from a lot of recruiters or interviewers when they're looking for, they don't think anything about, being on their phone. A lot of them don't think anything about, like, when you're in the waiting room going for an interview, you should be off your phone. As a matter of fact, in life in general, you almost, funny enough, I almost think there's a video camera on me when I leave my house, and that I always want to make sure that that my code of behavior is appropriate. But some of them may not be taught that, and it's so easy. They may not be taught not to interrupt. They may be not taught how to focus. I think focusing on conversations and people at events, speakers, when you're focused, that's a form of etiquette too, because the people around you, for instance, let's just say I am at a conference and I'm listening to the speaker, and I'm moving my feet up and down. I'm checking my phone. We see this happening all the time. That's etiquette. I make sure myself that I follow the right thing. So I don't want to distract the person next to me that wants to learn. And if someone's distracting me, I will get up and find a spot there where I'm not distracted, right? So, like, to me, it's every day we see it, but we don't really think about it. So training someone on, I like to call it, they're called soft skills. I call them essential skills. And it's been coming out, especially with COVID. I don't know if you heard the story where the judge had to tell the attorneys that they cannot take a court case while in bed with the sheets over them.
I did not hear that.
Or when you're on Zoom, you should wearing pants, or when you're on Zoom, don't put lipstick on, don't be on the phone, don't, I mean, it's crazy the amount of things. So in my mind, there is etiquette needed for everyone. It's one of the most important ways that you can command respect for yourself and have respect for others is very important. Outclass the other people that you're working. So salespeople have to have etiquette. How do you take someone out to eat? How do you dine them? How do you pick them up? How do you introduce someone? How do you shake hands? All of that is under the umbrella, along with communication, along with handling, negotiating, handling people, anger, secrets. I just wrote my book on secrets. I love the cover, by the way.
It is good.
But anyways, so, are you sharing too many secrets? Are you not sharing? What happens when an employee tells you a secret that is something that they shouldn't be telling you? How do you handle that? How do you make sure that these secrets stay quiet? All of that. It goes on and on.
Yeah. And is that all universal across the board? Or do you think that some of those things will really depend on the culture of the organization or the industry that someone is in?
And the culture of the country. So, I started professional global etiquette. I'm a graduate of the Protocol School of Washington in Washington, D.C. It's run by Pamela Eyring. If you're thinking of going to etiquette school, go to the best. That's what I did. It's so important. And, so we learned about other countries, and not that I have all that knowledge in my head, but I know where to find it. And I know that if you're planning on doing business in another country, you need to know the culture of that company, and not just how to, shake hands or bow. You need to know what's the expectation for the paperwork that you're bringing. How many copies do you bring? Do you need an attorney? Do you need someone on the other end that's a translator? Like, all of that kind of goes together. So I just feel like there's so much more to etiquette. So there's etiquette in LinkedIn. There's etiquette on Facebook. There's etiquette, just going to the grocery store. We don't push people out of the way. And we've COVID, 6 feet apart, having a distance, wearing your mask, all of that was part of etiquette. Some people, what do you think I did? Of course I wore the mask. I hated every second of it. And I wasn't great at it, but I wore the mask because that was the expected behavior. So, and you're right. Some people are like, nope, I'm not going to do the expected behavior. Most of the time they may be a little younger and just need to be taught, or they could be even a traditionalist that's already has lived an amazing life and they don't actually need to, they're doing fine as the way they are, and that's fine too. And customer service comes under essential skills too.
Yeah. Thinking about leadership. So for me, it's really clear when you think about customer service or sales, how obviously you always want the other person to feel comfortable. You want them to like you. That's kind of that's the entire purpose of customer service, right? It's to make the other person happy. But I think in leadership, I would have the hypothesis that there are moments, not regularly, but there are moments where the ability to make the decision and to have the behavior that actually does make people uncomfortable is a tremendously powerful thing for leaders to be able to do. Because sometimes you do have to make uncomfortable decisions. Sometimes you do have to maybe push something through that you're not able to get a consensus around. So is there a way that you would counsel someone if they were in that position to do it while maintaining that etiquette and that empathy, so they're sort of not undermining the respect that they've built for themselves as a principled person, but actually judiciously making somebody else uncomfortable?
I think that you have to ask the questions to find out why the person did what they were doing, or why they're, you have to get to the bottom of it in some way to make sure that they're positioning themselves correctly. So I don't know if this is the greatest story, but when I was with American Cancer Society, I had the privilege of working for American Cancer Society, and I did an event that nobody's ever done before. And the event wasn't that successful, but I love the fact that when they shared it with me, they weren't upset with me. And what they said to me in a way for me to understand is, first of all, they loved the idea that I took a risk, and so their disappointment, the way that they shared it with me, never made me feel bad. They were pleased that I made made a decision to do something risky. They want to continue that practice, that, not everything's going to be by the book, that you do things differently. And then asking me the right questions to make sure for me to look at, to see what maybe I did wrong. I think that it's really important for all of us I used to say it when I was younger, I go to bed at night and I think of everything. It's so hard. My brain just doesn't stop, because I'm looking at all of those reflections of, what I could have done better, what I should have done better, what I maybe could have said. So I think if someone is trying to share this with you, first of all, if you're getting, let's say, a lecture, listen, don't argue. Ask for a note paper and pen so you can write down some notes, so you can stay in track of what you're thinking of, but make sure that you are listening and don't get upset. And these are things you have to just say to yourself, I'm not going to get upset. I'm going to learn. And if the person that's talking to you, if they are getting upset themselves, I mean, we never should. Our parents, if you have good parents, didn't, I would say my parents didn't raise me to get yelled at by someone else. Right? Like, my parents could yell at me. That's fine. I'm okay with my kids yelling at me too, but I'm not okay with someone else yelling at me. So I think we all need to make sure that our tone, how we speak with someone, we learn better, and also how people learn. I learn better when you're kinder, and maybe my learning style is completely different than 99% of the people that are in the workplace. I'm a little different. So I may have to share with you, I'm not really understanding you. So I think it's got to be that double-edged sword. You got to learn how to speak and share your feelings in a nice way. And then you've got to ask the questions and the feedback. But I think it's important for both, and to understand. I think the managers, the leaders that you're working with will need to understand different styles. That's why all those personality tests are so important too. So you understand who you're working with and how best you can, change behavior if that's what you need to do for your business.
Yeah. And I think, that having had the conversation with somebody to understand how they take feedback best is so useful. I mean, I have a guide that I share with pretty much everybody about how to receive feedback usefully, describing kind of exactly what you were just saying, that nobody likes hearing criticism of themselves, no matter how prepared you are going in. I'm going to see this as a learning opportunity. I'm going to listen. I'm going to take notes. Of course, you're going to feel emotional when somebody starts telling you, well, I think you could have done this better. And I think you could have done that better. And I think, when you did that, I noticed every client in the room drew back and they really didn't like your style. Of course, that's going to feel confrontational, right? And I figure it's okay if it does, right? You take the time to feel the emotions that you're feeling. But I love what you were saying, just take notes. And I always tell people to actually split your page in half before you go into any feedback conversation, and write down everything positive on one side and everything critical on the other, because your brain has a tendency to just discard anything good that you hear about yourself and focus in on the tiny negative and then get really upset about it. Whereas if you do them in two columns, you can usually see that the bulk of what someone is feeding back to you is actually, you did a really good job with this. I loved how you were trying something new here. Like you were saying, it's like, we love that you took the risk. We didn't love that the event didn't generate the income that we were looking for, but at least, you know, you can then remind yourself that it wasn't all bad, even though in the moment it probably felt pretty uncomfortable.
Very true. You know, I rejoined Toastmasters. I absolutely love Toastmasters. And one of the things that they teach when you're an evaluator is to kind of like do the Oreo style, right? So positive, what can be done better, and then end in the positive. And that's a nice way to do it. And I really do love Oreo cookies too. I could eat like 1.5 million of them. So give me Oreo style feedback, and that'll be best for me.
All right, we've only got a couple more minutes here, and so you mentioned as well that one of the, you know, that there is etiquette on LinkedIn. So tell us your top tips for good etiquette on LinkedIn if someone is wanting, say they are looking for a job or they are wanting to create new contacts or build a community on LinkedIn. What would you advise them to do?
You know, I think in sales, or you're looking to grow your business, you know, it's not about I. You know, even when we write things like, you know, I'm excited to share with you. It's funny, right? Because that doesn't, you know, I'm glad you're excited to share with me, but what are you sharing that I could be excited about? So consider, you know, consider always, obviously, stay away from religion, stay away from politics, please. It's too much passionate of a subject. Always provide value.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, you know, try not to just scam someone. There's a lot of lead generators out there that will make a lot of promises to you, and they could hurt your business. So stick with people that are credible, that you know. And it really just, again, it's a code of behavior that is accepted. All you have to do is really kind of click in to see what it is. I see what some of the things I see that are easy to fix are like, just be on time. Be on time. So actually, I did a post last night, and the post is for those that are always late, how to fix that, and what to say. If you're late for a meeting, do you say, oh my God, there was a car behind me and it had a flat tire, and then the thing came up, and then, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Or thank you all for waiting for me. I really appreciate that. I have just stop with the excuses. Just be clear. Be grateful that people, you know, be grateful. I think if we wake up with gratitude every day too, it'll change your personality. And I think for leaders and on etiquette too, and also make it easy for people to find you. That's another thing on etiquette. Part of that code of behavior, if I want to do business with Charlotte and I'm having to look all around, there's not an email, there's not a phone number, even though we're first connection, all I have is the ability to LinkedIn you. That may not be enough. So try to help so that when someone does find you, that you make it easy so that they immediately can connect with you. Because that's a good, also etiquette too, making sure people can find you. Otherwise, you're not going to have any sales.
That's true. And LinkedIn DMs, I wish they were easier. Okay, on that note, how can people find and connect with you if they want to know more about either LinkedIn lead generation or etiquette and empathy in leadership or any of your other multitude of business consulting skills?
I do have about 100 workshops, by the way, that I own. I'm going to give you my cell phone number, everyone. I have no problem with that. 386-631-4577. That is my secret sauce. But if you send me a text message and you don't say who you are, that's going to be a problem. I will not respond. I do not respond to, hey, saw blah, blah, blah. You make it a habit. There's some things you have to make a habit. Make it a habit. Hi, it's Adrian from, if maybe I only met you once, you want to let me know. And if you're sending me an email, if you find, you know, what I like about my phone numbers, if you could put my phone number in Google, everything will pop up because I wanted it that way. It's my secret sauce. I do answer the phone when I can. And so I'm happy for people to reach out to me. And my email is adrian@adrianbarker.com. And there you can learn more about my book. It's Not My Secret to Share. Is that cover? Oh, so pretty. I need to make a pair of shorts with that. And I have Professional Global Etiquette, which has a great blog on it too. So I'm always happy to share tips.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I mean, I know you said not to start with I, but I've really enjoyed talking to you. And I know that I have learned a lot today. So very much appreciate you taking the time.
Can I just say thank you, Charlotte? I don't know if a lot of people understand how important it is that, these podcast hosts, and Charlotte goes live. So I love her. She's bold and brave and beautiful. But Charlotte, thank you for giving a platform for guests like me that can come on and share a little bit and tell our story. And I really appreciate that. And, there's no money being passed, no money being made. Charlotte's doing this out of the goodness of her heart, taking her time. Everything is work. The platform we're using costs money. So I really appreciate it and thank you. And I look forward to sharing this more too. And I'm excited for you to have a great evening. I think it's your evening and my day.
It is. Yeah. Good evening for me, a good day for you. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate it.
All right.